All right, hey guys, it's Hutch here. What's up? This is your Mod 3-9 Apply Rational Numbers Notes. Uh, so all operations with rational numbers. So now we're mixing addition, subtraction, and all that. So focusing on order of operations. Remember, order of operations, we have germ DOS. So grouping, okay, any of those things. Exponents and roots, multiplication, division from left to right, and addition, subtraction from left to right. So we need to be following that. Let's go ahead and jump right into this. Just a heads up, it does say in the directions that we need to simplify as much as possible. So let's go ahead and get started. So example 1, you can see we have this expression right here. Okay, and so we have a lot of different forms, fractions, decimals, positive, negatives. Obviously, you could change everything to decimals. I noticed that we have multiplication, addition, and subtraction. So I'd probably prefer to use all fractions. So I'm going to go ahead and change my 0.75 to 3/4. And it is positive. So we'll tag that as letter C. And then the rest I realize aren't all common denominators, but let's go ahead and wait. We could make all of those common denominators right away, but I'd almost rather wait and see if I need to, because I only need it for addition subtraction. So let's go ahead and fill out everything in. I'm going to do a rewrite here, AB plus C minus D, and then go ahead and substitute. So I have 5/6. I'll use parentheses here for my multiplication. B is negative 4/5. Okay, so those I don't even need common denominators. And then I'm adding C minus D. So I have a 3/4 and a 1/3. Those will need to be common denominators, but I don't know what this is going to turn into yet. I mean, I'm going to end up with 30ths there. But probably some simplified stuff. So I'm just going to wait and go ahead and write the C and D as is. So let's just write our 3/4 minus 1/3. Okay. Now, order of operations says we have to take care of our multiplication division first. So let's go ahead and do that. Always ask the question, can I cross simplify? And I definitely can here. Divide both those by 5. The other way, I can divide both those by 2. And so I have a negative 2 here and a 3 here, because 2 times 3 is 6. 2 times negative 2 is negative 4. All right, so everything's cross simplified. Let's go ahead and solve that. So I have a negative 2/3. And then I'm going to go ahead and bring things down. But before I do, now I want to sort of think about the denominators, because I have a negative 2/3 plus 3/4 minus 1/3. So the 3's are fine, but this fourths here is going to be an issue. So I'm going to have to find common denominators with everything. So if I think about my 4's, I have 4, 8, 12. I can turn everything into 12ths pretty easily. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Okay. And so to do that, I would multiply by 4/4 for this one. I would multiply by 3/3 for this one, and I would multiply by 4/4 for this one. So we're going to go ahead and do a full-blown rewrite now and get everything written down here. So I have negative 8/12 plus 9/12 minus 4/12. And so there we go. I pulled everything down, have a new fresh problem with common denominator, so I can go ahead and solve. So I do have addition of positive and negative, so I have to sing my song. So different sign, subtract. Keep the sign of the bigger number, then you'll be exact. Bigger number's positive. 9 minus 8 is 1, so now I have 1/12 minus 4/12. I'm going to KFC. I don't like subtraction. It makes me sad. Go to KFC to make me feel better. All right, here we go. Different sign, subtract. Keep the sign of the bigger number, which is negative now. 4 minus 1 is negative 3/12. Okay. I do need simplest form. So I look at what I can divide both of those by. I can divide by 3 over 3, and I end up getting negative 1/4 as my final answer. Okay, so that's your process that you're doing. Let's go ahead and try it with the check. If you want to pause it and try it on your own and then hit play to see how you did, you can do that. Or if you want to just continue watching and do it along with me, you're welcome to do so as well. All right, so first of all, analyzing this, I have addition and 1 multiplication. Okay, so I'm going to have common denominators eventually. It looks like I could make everything decimals. However, again, I really like doing the multiplication with fractions, but you could make everything decimals. We'd just be doing B and C as multiplication, which is just 0.5 times 2.8. So it's really not horrible. So it's really up to you what you want to do. I'm going to go ahead and, because it's a lot of addition stuff, let's go ahead and try to do decimal form for this one so we can sort of see what that looks like. So I'm going to go ahead and do rewrites because everything can turn into decimals. So we have 2, and I remember 1/5 is 0.2. So 4/5 is 0.8. So I have a 2.8 for this one. I have a negative 0.5 for this, and 6 3/4. So remember, that's our quarters. So a quarter is 0.25, 3/4 is 0.75. So I have 6.75. So those are real quick decimal conversions. And so let's go ahead and just walk through this way. We can see if we made a good choice or if it was annoying. So I'm going to rewrite my work here so I can officially put things underneath it. All right, so we have A, and A is negative 3.6 plus B is 2.8, and we're multiplying by C, which is negative 0.5, okay? And technically, if we're just multiplying by a half, that's taking half of that. So that's a really pretty good multiplication problem. And then D is plus 6.75, okay? Order of operations says I have to do the multiplication first, okay? So that's a positive times a negative, so I know my answer needs to be negative, so I need to be careful about that. So it's a 2.8 times a 0.5, which is a pretty easy multiplication. 5 times 8 is 40. 5 times 2 is 10, plus the 4 is 14, and I have 2 decimal movements overall. So swoop, swoop, and we have 1.4, but it's negative. Okay, so this right here is negative 1.4, and then I'm going to bring everything else down. Remember, we're not using our calculator for this. Everything's going to be manual, which I know is annoying, but it's really, really good practice for you to be able to work through these on your own. And it's a good thing to say, hey, in Hutch's class for this, we're not allowed to use a calculator, and it's a pretty smart, good thing. All right, so now we're just adding up, and so you can line everything up now and add it all up, other than the fact that we have that negative. So I'd probably combine some like terms and go, okay, here's my 2 negatives here. Okay, that's a really bad highlighter color. Like covers it up. Okay, so there's 2 negatives. So I'm probably going to add those 2 negatives first. Let's see, negative 3 plus the negative 1.4 is, there's some regrouping there. I know what it is, but let's go ahead and write it over here so we're being smart. So negative plus a negative is still a negative, okay? So we're adding those up. We're going to end up with a negative. So we have 10, regroup, 3, 4, 5. So we have negative 5. So this right here is negative 5. If you want 5.0, it doesn't really matter. Plus 6.75. So we have different signs, subtract. Okay, and so keep the sign of the bigger, which is positive. So I'm subtracting 6.75 minus 5. And obviously, I mean, you don't really need to do all the, I mean, it's pretty simple subtraction there. And we're left with 1.75 as our final answer, and it is positive. Okay, so there's your process of going through that. Let's go ahead and do example number 2. Okay, I'm going to highlight my actual expression that we're plugging in, and away we go. So let's do some analysis here. It looks like we have one multiplication, the 2/5 times the parentheses, and then we have double addition going on here. So we are going to need common denominators with x and y, and right now we have an 8 and a 4. And then once we add those up, we're going to have to multiply, so that's going to change our denominator a little bit. So I'm not going to worry about z's denominator, but I could change the denominator for x and y right away and make them be the same. So I think I'm going to do that and turn the y into eighths. So it's going to work for me. So let's go ahead and do times 2 over 2, and we'll plug it in like that. Okay, so let's go ahead and do your rewrite here. 2/5 times x, which is 7/8, plus, we're not going to use -1/4, we're going to use -2/8. That way we're already ready to go, and that's sort of nice. And then we have plus z, and for right now, we're just going to put it as is, which it's a -2/3. Okay, so we'll leave it like that because I'm not sure what denominator I'm going to need later. Okay, so I don't want to go waste time changing it. All right, let's take care of our addition first, because with GermDAS, GERMDAS, first thing is taking care of our grouping. Okay, and in the grouping, we just have addition, subtraction, so let's go ahead and do that. 7/8 plus -2/8, different sign, subtract. Keep the sign of the bigger, which is positive, so we have 5/8. And then go ahead and do all the rewrites. 2/5 plus -2/3. All right, let's move on to the next part. Next is multiplication according to GermDAS. So let's see if we can cross simplify. That's our next thing we check, which we can. Divided by 2. That was an 8, yeah. And then these divided by 5 for both. And this is a nice, easy problem. And we end up with 1/4 plus the -2/3, but I'm going to have to create a common denominator. So let's sort of think through that a little bit. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. It looks like we're making twelfths. Okay, so we're going to multiply this by 3 over 3, multiply this by 4 over 4, and we have our new addition problem, which is 3/12 plus a -8/12. And now we're adding integers, or adding rational numbers. So sing the song, different sign, subtract. 8 minus 3, keep the sign of the bigger, which is negative. So I'm going to put that right away. 8, 7, 6, 5, and we are at 5/12. Okay, and there we go. Final answer. All right, so that wasn't too bad. Let's go ahead to the check. Same thing, pause if you want, or follow along, up to you. I'm going to highlight the expression that I'm working with so it stands out, and let's analyze it a little bit. So I have an addition, I have a multiplication, and an addition. My addition are that is first is in the grouping. So I have a decimal, and then z is a fraction. I don't have any fractions that would be repeating, so I could change everything to decimals if I want. Let's go ahead. We only have the one multiplication, so I think, let's see. I don't know, but there's the 5/8. Z is the 5/8. If I do 5 divided by 8, I have to know what that is, or you are allowed to look at your fraction to decimal chart. Let's see if mine's... my fraction decimal chart is available. Let's see, where are your fraction decimal chart? Let's see, 5/8 here. Okay, 5/8 is 0.625. let's go ahead and give that a try. 0.625. So we got to remember that. All right, so negative 0.625. Let's go ahead and give that a shot and just see how it goes. My y is negative 0.5, which again is pretty nice. So let's go ahead and do decimal form. I think that might work out a little bit nicer for us. So we have our x plus y. X is negative 2.6 plus our y is negative 0.5 times, in parentheses, 0.4 plus z is negative 0.625. Okay? All right. So we're going to go ahead and do the addition first because it's in the grouping. So GermDOS says take care of grouping first. And we have 0.625. We have different signs subtract. Keep the sign of the bigger number, then you'll be exact. So it's going to end up being negative because we have 0.6 versus 0.4. And so 0.6 is bigger. So if you look at it with your placeholders, you have 625 thousandths versus 400 thousandths. We're going to subtract, and I just need to remember to keep it negative at the end. So 5, 2, and 2. Okay, with my decimal point, so I have a negative 0.225, so that's not too bad. So negative 0.225. And we need to do our rewrites. So negative 0.5 and the plus and negative 2.6. All right, let's continue. Now, next thing is not this. According to GermDOS, I have to do multiplication division first. So that is this one here. Okay, so we have our 0.225. That's negative. So right away, think about it. We're doing a negative times a negative. It's actually going to end up being positive at the end. And that is times 0.5. Okay. And remember, for multiplication, you don't line up decimals. Okay. So 5 times 5 is 25. 5 times 2 is 10. Plus 2 is 12. And 5 times 2 is 10. Plus 1 is 11. So we have 1125. The overall decimal movement is 3 on the top, 1 on the bottom. So we have overall 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 0.1125, okay, is what we end up with, okay? And so this here, 0.1125, is our decimal for that. Bring down the negative 2.6. And then we just need to add those up. Okay, so let's go ahead. We have same signs, add and keep. Nope, different sign, subtract. Keep the sign of the bigger number, then you'll be exact. Bigger number in this case is the 2 wholes, so we're going to end up with a negative here. And so for this one, I have to put the bigger on top, which is 2.6, and we have to line up the decimal places for addition or subtraction. Okay, so I have 0.1125 with placeholders. Okay, so there's my subtraction problem. Remember, we're going to end up negative at the end, so I'm going to put that in right now so I don't forget. Okay, so for this one, the trick here is when you're doing this regrouping, remember if you look at this entire number here, okay, you have 6,000, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to go all the way over to where we can steal, which is here. This turns in a 5, okay? All these are going to be 9s and 10 at the end, okay, to do that regrouping, okay? So you could do it the long version, but that's just the trick way, is go over to where you can steal, 9s in the middle, 10 at the end. Okay. All right. 10 minus 5, 9, 8, 7, 9, 8, 5 minus 1 is 4, point, and 2. Okay. So we have a final answer of negative 2.4875. I'm curious, 0.4875, if that's in the fraction decimal chart anywhere. Let's see, 0.4875. Let's see if that exists anywhere. Do you see a 0.4875 anywhere? I don't see anything. Nope, I don't see it over there. So I'm guessing not. All right, let's go back to our notes. So we'll leave it at that, and there we go as decimals. Okay. All right. Let's go ahead down to the apply. Okay. We just have an apply and a check, and we're done with our notes today already. All right. A.A. Raya had a recipe, that's definitely how you say her name, for blonde brownies. She doesn't like a lot of walnuts, but she loves chocolate. So she's using half the amount of chocolate, half the amount of walnuts called for, and increasing the chocolate chips by 1/3. Okay, so remember that the word of means multiply, so half of walnuts means half times walnuts, and then she's increasing the chocolates by 1/3. Okay, so we're figuring out what that increase is. She then wants to double her new recipe at the end, so double means times 2 at the end. How many cups of walnuts will she need? How many cups of chocolate chips? So we have 2 things to answer here. Okay, so let's take care of the half amounts of walnuts first. So right now there's half a cup. Okay, half of that, you may just know what it is, but half times half ends up being 1/4. Okay, so she's going to have 1/4 walnuts. And then it says she's increasing the chocolate chips by 1/3. So let's figure out what 1/3 is. And then she's going to increase it that amount. Okay. So let's see. Chocolate chips is 3/4. So we have 3/4 chocolate chips. And let's find out what. I'd assume they're saying 1/3. She's increasing the chocolate chips by 1/3 of the current amount. So we need to go ahead and find out what 1/3 is and add that on to see how many more chocolate chips. Okay, so let's go ahead and find what 1/3 is of that. So times 1/3. And this ends up being, if we cross simplify, 1/1, ends up being 1/4. But we're increasing it by 1/3. So we're increasing it by this amount here. Okay, so really we're adding on another 1/4. So what happens if we take 1/4 and we add it on to 3/4? Well, we have 4/4 or 1 cup. I'm just going to keep it 4/4 for right now, okay, of the chocolate. So that is increasing it by 1/3. We end up with 1 whole cup of chocolate, okay? All right. So let's go ahead and continue on this journey here. She then wants to double her new recipe. So we're taking both of those and we're doubling it. Now understand, doubling literally just means times 2 or times 2/1. Okay. And so we end up with, if we multiply straight across, we end up with 2/4 walnuts and 8/4 chocolate. You have to understand what 8/4 is. In measuring, we do convert it. So let's make sure we do that for the answer. So how many cups of walnuts will A.A. Raya need? Araya needs walnuts is 2/4 cups of walnuts. And let's just say and. We can't say 8/4 cups of chocolate chips. So if we know the whole is 4/4 and rip that out, 4/4 and then another 4/4. So really we have 2 cups of chocolate chips. And there we go as our answer. Okay. All right. Let's go ahead and check this out. The check is just like your homework. So this one's extra important. Okay. Adele City is closing a skate park with fencing. The skate park is that many yards wide and that many yards long. And so I have wide and long. Length is usually longer, but whatever. And 31 and 1/3. I like to draw pictures sometimes to just like visualize stuff. Okay, so there's my skate park. This is in yards, also to be aware of. Fencing is sold in 8-foot sections. Right away, I want to get rid of 8 foot because we're dealing with yards. So you would just look up yards and feet. There's 3 feet in a yard. Okay, so if there's 3 feet in a yard, you can see we have 3, 6. We almost have enough of the. We almost have 3 yards, but we don't quite have that. So to make that conversion, if there's 3 feet in 1 yard, okay, we have 8 feet. So here's where my proportions come in, and I'm wondering how many yards, okay? So I can go ahead and cross multiply. So I have 3x equals 8, divide by 3, divided by 3, and I have x equals 8/3, okay? So that's how many sections I have. Let's go ahead and do our 8 divided by 3 and see what this is as a decimal. Okay, so 3, 6. Okay, subtract, and we have 2. Here's my decimal point. Let's bring down my 0. I have a 20. 3 times 6 is 18. And I have a 2. Bring down my other 0. And I have 20 again, so it's 2.6 repeating. So I'm just going to keep it at the 8/3 for this part right here. Okay, so this right here is 8/3 yards. Okay, we'll leave it at that for right now. Okay, so x equals, oops, come on, hands work, 8/3. Okay, so we'll leave it at that, yards. Each section costs $67.99 per section. How much will it cost to fence the entire skate park? So let's go ahead, and obviously we need to add up all the way around the skate park here. So we have adding 24 2/3 plus 24 2/3. So that's not horrible to do. So let's go ahead and add up those 2 sides. And so double that is what? So 48 and 2/3 plus 2/3 is 4/3 yards. Let's go ahead and double this one. And we have 31 doubled is 62. 1/3 doubled is 2/3 yards. And then we need to go ahead and combine both of those together. And so let's see, we have 48 plus 62, 8, 9, 10, a little regroup, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So we have 0, and then we have 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So 110 and 4/3 plus 2/3 is 6/3, okay? So this is our total amount of yards. This is 110 and 6/3 yards, which is quite a bit. Let's go ahead and start getting this figured out. So that's how many yards length of fencing I have. I need to go ahead and think about this part here. We know that fencing is sold in 8-foot sections or 8/3 yard sections. So I want to know how many 8/3 yard sections are in this. So that's a division problem. Okay. So really, but I don't want to do division or multiplication work with mixed numbers. So we do have to go ahead and make an improper fraction. So 3 times 110, it's not horrible. So 100, 200, that's 300, and 3 tens is 30. So we have 330 plus the 6 is 336 thirds. And we're dividing it by how many sections. So we have 8/3 yards is each section. Okay, so that'll figure out how many sections we have. Okay, we don't do division. Remember, we instead multiply by the reciprocal. So let's flip it, and we have 3/8. Okay, let's go ahead and cross simplify. We have 1 and 1. 336 and 8 is going to be a little bit hard to process there because 336 is just such a big number. So it's hard to know if those can cross simplify or not. You could look at a divisibility chart, but let's go ahead and just finish this off. So if I finish off the problem, I have 336 eighths. Okay. So this is how many of those sections fit in the length of my fence. Okay. So that doesn't really help me too much. Okay. This is how many sections. That's not really a whole number or anything like that. So I do need to turn this into a mixed number for it to make sense, so I know how many sections I actually have. Because my final thing is, how much will it cost to fence the entire skate park? So I need to know how many sections there are so I can multiply that. So we have to figure out the mixed number. So the best way to do that would just be to do 336 divided by 8 to see how many holes we can create. So I can do 33. 4 times 8 is 32. Okay, so that's a good one there. With 1 left over, bring down my 6. And then, oh, perfect. So 3 times 8 is 24. 2 times 8 is 16. So there we go. So we end up, this actual whole thing is actually 42 sections. So that worked out nicely. Okay, so let's go up here now. It costs $67.99 per section. So how much will it cost for the entire skate park? So we just need to do that multiplication, which will be a little bit annoying, but I'm going to be proud of myself that I'm finishing it off. So here we go. Let's figure out the total cost with all those sections. 18 plus 1 is 19. 14 plus 1 is 15, and we have 13, 0, and I'm going to slash all these out so I don't get confused. 4 times 9 is 36. 4 times 9 is 36 plus the 3, 37, 38, 39. 4 times 7 is 28, 29, 30, 31. And 6 times 4, 4 times 6 is 24, 25, 26, 27. Add them all up at the end, our good friend Adam. We have 15, a little regroup there. I have another 15 with a little regroup, 3, 4, 5, an 8, and a 2. Count all my decimal movement. I only have 2 decimal movements, so swoop, swoop. Dollar symbol at the end. There's my comma. And this is the amount. How much will it cost to fence in the entire skate park? It will cost $2,855.58. Voila. There we go. Good job. I know there's a lot of work, but it's good for you to experience problems like that. Let's go ahead and take a look at the homework. Okay. Mod 3-9. Oh, I gotta grab it out of Schoology. Before I do, I wanted you to see this. This is really cool. I was walking around in the woods. Like, check this out. It's a little blurry, but I thought it was pretty cool. You have to look really close. Look what I found. Oh, sorry. Anyway, it's good to wake you up like that every now and then, you know? All right, let's grab the homework out of here. Sorry, I had to. I love you. Don't worry. If you peed your pants, I apologize. Hopefully you didn't. All right. So I know this is quite a bit, but honestly, it's really important for you to practice it. If you want to work on the homework with a partner, you are more than welcome to do that. Remember, though, I'm not looking for just the answer. I'm looking for all the work. Okay, so make sure that you have all those pieces that you need, because on your test, you're going to be graded on the work to get there. Okay. All right. So here we go. Evaluated each expression. We have same thing we just practiced. So let's go through and crank some of these out together. Okay. So we have A divided by B. Okay. Minus C plus D. We could do decimals. I think I'm going to do fractions for this one. So A divided by B, let's go ahead and set that up. So 7/8. I'm going to rewrite it like this, divided by B. And I think I'm actually going to do this. I'm going to go ahead right away and multiply by the reciprocal, which is -16/7. And then say minus C, which is 8/10, plus D, which is 1/4. All right, so let's go ahead and solve this one. I can definitely cross-simplify here, and I can cross-simplify here also. Divide by 4 gets me a 2 here. Divide by 4 gets me a -4 here, and that creates a pretty simple fraction then. So we have a -4/2, and then minus 8/10 plus 1/4. Yeah, I sort of like the fractions maybe better than the decimals, because this really isn't like that hard to create the common denominators. So I can easily make tenths. So I'm going to go ahead and do that for now with this one. So times 5/5. So I actually end up with -20 tenths minus 8/10 plus 1/4. KFC this. And so I have a -20 plus a -8, which is just -28 tenths plus 1/4. And then we could change those to decimals if we want, or I can create common denominators, which is also not bad. Let's see, common denominator 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 16. We could do 20. We could turn these both into 20ths. So times 2/2 and times 5/5. So double would be -40. 28 plus 28. 56 over 20 plus 5 over 20. Same signs, add and keep. Nope, different signs, subtract. Keep the sign of the bigger number, then you'll be exact. So -56 plus 5, subtract. We have -51 20ths, and there we go, done. Okay, all right. Let's go ahead on to number 2, A plus B plus C times D. Okay, so we have an A plus B. Before I even get to this, I'm going to go ahead and change this so it says 14/16. That'll be nice and easy. And let's see, plus C times D. We'll see what happens there and what we need. All right, let's go ahead and set it up. I'm just going to write this as 14/16. We'll see if that was a good choice or not. Plus a negative 7/16 plus C is 8/10 times 1/4. Okay, let's go ahead and we need to do our multiplication first because of order of operations. And so I'm going to cross simplify here. Anytime we're multiplying, we can cross simplify. So divide by 4s, and we get 2 and 1. So that ends up being 2/10. And then we have plus, I don't know why I wrote it that way. I have like 116. We have negative 7/16 plus 14/16. Okay, so that worked out well because now I can do any order I want for the addition. So I am going to go ahead and add the 16ths together. Different sign subtract. So 14 minus 7 is negative 7/16. And then we have plus 2/10. So this is going to be the annoying part here, I guess, with the fractions, is finding a common denominator to do this final problem. And so that's where it gets a little bit rough. So I got to sort of think multiples of 16 and when do they become a multiple of 10? I mean, I could just make it be 160 as a denominator and then try to simplify at the end of that. Maybe that would be best to do because I'm not sure, like 16 times 4, 6 times 4 is 24. That doesn't end in a 0. Okay, 5 maybe though. 16 times 5. 5 times 3 is 30. 5 times 1 is 5, 6, 7, 8. So that makes 80. So I could do that. So let's go ahead and I'll multiply by 5/5 and multiply, I'm making 80, and multiply by 8/8. Okay. And so then we end up with negative 35. Let's move up here. Negative 35 eightieths plus 16 eightieths. Okay, and then there we go. Different sign subtract. So 35 minus 16. We got to regroup here. We end up with 9. 2 minus 1 is 1. So we have 19 eightieths as a final answer. Okay. So I don't know, maybe decimals are the way to go with some of these because that was a little bit annoying. All right, let's go ahead and we'll do number 3 together. So we have C minus A plus B over D, or B divided by D. B divided by D, yeah. Okay, so C minus A, okay. Let's see. C is 0.8 or 8/10. Let's see, what's B and D? B is a fraction and D is a fraction also. Oh, do I dare do more fractions? I don't know. All right, let's try it again, fraction version. So we have 8/10 minus A is 7/8. So I feel like that's going to end up using a big number again. We can always go to decimal form later too. Plus B is negative 7/16 divided by D. Notice how I'm rewriting it. 1/4. I could even right away multiply by the reciprocal instead and multiply by 4/1. Okay. All right, so order of operations says we do the multiplication first. Okay, I'm going to cross simplify here. Divide by 4, divide by 4. And so we end up with negative 7/4 plus 7/8 with the minus symbol and the 8/10. We're going to KFC that, and so there's what we have so far. All right, so the question is, we need to make common denominators. Let's see, I can turn these into eights if I want. So I guess maybe I'll do that and just do times 2 over 2 so I can get those two added. So what we have, negative 14 eighths and negative 7 eighths. So negative 14, same signs, add and keep. 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. So let's do a rewrite here. I have 8 tenths plus negative 21 eighths. Okay, so here's my final problem, and all I have to do is come up with a common denominator. So 3 times 8 is 24, 4 times 8 is 32, 5 times 8 is 40. So it looks like I'm doing similar to what we did before. I'm going to do times 5 over 5 and times 4 over 4. We end up with 32 40ths plus whatever 5 times 21 is, which is 5 and 5, 10. There we go, 105. So negative 105 40ths. Different sign, subtract. Keep the sign of the bigger, which is negative. Then you'll be exact. So negative something 40ths, 105 minus 32. I don't want to mental math it. I want to just make sure I'm correct. 3, 10 minus 3 is 7. So negative 73 40ths is a final answer. So there we go on that one. Okay. All right. Let's go ahead and why don't we do this actually? Let's say that we're going to pause here. Okay, so we're not going to do anything here and down. Okay, so this is a do not do. Let's save that stuff for Monday, and let's just say right now your job's to do 4, 5, and 6 on your own. Okay, so this is your in-class work or homework if not finished. And then after that, you can have some free time because that's quite a bit of stuff already. And I think it takes a lot of thinking and a lot of processing. So take your time, work through there, and we'll go over that on Monday together. Or on whatever the next day is that you're watching this. And if you want to work with your partner, check with your partner, things like that, you're welcome to do that. I really want you to try to get the same answers and be accurate. So go ahead and do that and see what you get. Even if you want, after you do it, if you want to then grab a calculator and check, you could do that too to see how you did and see if you need to change something or fix something. Okay, so there you go. Good luck with that, and we'll continue working on that next class. All right, love you all. Later.